Aliens, Poinier here. You've already clicked on this video, so you know what it's about. Stem cells and their applications. Let's slow things down for a sec with a nice analogy. When kids are younger, they're told to follow their dreams and that they can be anything they put their mind to. As they get older, they become more specific, hone in on what they're good at, and eventually pick just one career. It's the exact same thing with stem cells. Embryonic stem cells that are, you guessed it, found in a human embryo are pluripotent, meaning they can change into whichever cell type out of the 200 found in the embryo that they want. Liver cell, skin cell, you name it. Except for those in the placenta. We'll come back to that in a bit. When stem cells become a specific cell type, they're differentiating. They're becoming different. As their human gets older, stem cells become differentiated and lose their potency. They're now called adult stem cells or somatic stem cells, and they're only multipotent. They can only change into a limited number of cell types. The focus in media is usually on multipotent and pluripotent stem cells, but there are two more you should know about: totipotent and unipotent. Totipotent stem cells can turn into whatever cell, including those outside the embryo and in the placenta. On the exact opposite side, unipotent stem cells can only turn into one cell, not any cell within a group, unlike multipotent ones. Confused yet? That's okay. Let's do a quick review and add in some word etymology to help out. Totipotent, with toti meaning whole, can turn into whatever cell, including those in the placenta. Pluripotent, with pluri meaning many, can turn into lots of different cell types, except for those in the placenta. Multipotent, with multi meaning several, can turn into any cell within a group, such as a liver cell or a skin cell, and unipotent can only turn into one cell. Okay, cool, got some definitions, but let's move on to something a little more interesting. Even if you didn't know the difference between stem cells or what they even were, you've probably heard about some ethical concerns around embryonic stem cells because they involve killing an embryo. I first want to clear up some misconceptions. When and if pluripotent embryonic stem cells are used, it is with consent and from embryos that would otherwise be discarded after an in vitro fertilization or IVF procedure. I won't go into too much detail about IVF, but it involves taking eggs and sperm from two people and fertilizing the egg in a lab setting. They then pick the healthiest fertilized egg, and the fate of those that remain is decided by the parents. They can either be destroyed, used for medical research, which is what we're interested in, frozen for future use, or donated to another couple. Now, this eases some concerns, but it still raises others. And that's where induced pluripotent stem cells, or iPS cells, which is what I'll refer to them as from now on, come in. Quick history lesson. In 2006, Dr. Shinya Yamanaka was able to essentially turn back time for adult mice skin cells by turning them back into the embryonic-like state. Soon after, a year later, he was able to do the same thing for adult skin cells. So what did this actually mean for the ethics and future of stem cells? It means that now adult stem cells can be taken from bone marrow or adipose fat tissue of an adult through a super simple procedure that doesn't even require general anesthetics. The adult stem cells are then turned into iPS cells in a lab, and then they're injected back into the body and can help with a disease. No ethical or genetic problems. The body will accept the cells no problem because it was taken from the body in the first place. But as you can imagine, there's a downside too, and in this case, it's actually genetic. Since it takes quite a bit for adult stem cells to be turned into iPS cells, there's time for quite a few mutations, and you definitely don't want mutations if you're gonna put those cells back into the body. You get the gist. Stem cells can do amazing things, but what can they actually do for us that they're not doing already? Well, the most interesting application is probably in regenerative medicine. This is where scientists take stem cells and turn them into specific cell types that can help replace damaged or lost tissue. What diseases can they help with? Spinal cord injuries, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, burns, osteoarthritis, type 1 diabetes, cancer, and so many more. You heard that right. Cancer. There's something called the stem cell theory of cancer, and it explains how malignant tumors, those are the cancerous ones, are actually caused by stem cells gone rogue instead of regular cells like we used to think. The The cells need to be around the body long enough for them to mutate and actually become cancerous, and that's only true for stem cells. What's even more interesting is that most drugs target shrinking the tumor, but if stem cells are what really give rise to these tumors, then they'll just come out more resistant and stronger after the drug treatment. Stem cells are also what likely gives rise to metastasis, which is the spread of cancer all over the body. And that's why you've heard of cancer patients getting bone marrow transplants or stem cell transplants. They're replacing their diseased stem cells with new cancer-free ones. But there's a flip side too, as you've probably guessed. There were instances of stem cells getting contaminated and infecting people with E. coli, although that was the company's fault. Stem cells being injected into the eye and then differentiating into bone cells, and lots more horrific instances gone wrong. Stem cells are super duper fascinating, but we're still at the very beginning of our scientific journeys with them. I don't have time to go into too much detail about this, but I'll link some resources down below where you can read about more of these accidents. Alright, we've just covered the basics of stem cells and how they're used. Congrats! You're now smarter and more knowledgeable than you were just a few minutes ago. If there's one thing that I want you to take away from this video, it's that stem cells are freaking cool and have a super bright future ahead of them. But it's important that we stay safe and don't jump too quickly to real-world applications. And the next time you're about to make fun of your younger sibling, just remember that they have cells in their body that could save lives. Till next time!